Amen. The vision statement at Natalia ISD is challenging and empowering students for global success.
The mission statement is the Natalia Independent School District, in partnership with the community, is committed to providing a safe and challenging environment that promotes productive and successful lifelong learners.
Our tagline is blue, building lights and utilizing research.
We do have 6 out of our 7 members present. This already is on the way. Public comment 2A, 2B, Ms. Roberts, is anyone signed up? If not, we will skip to item 3. Natalia ISD Board of Trustees swearing in and reorganization. 3A statement of officer is completed. And those board members would take oath of office. And at this time, Mr. Almendaez and Ms. Rodriguez, you can go down to the front with Ms. Harrell. And we will welcome you back into office since you both were unopposed.
Why don't you stand up here a second? I guess we can do both at the same time, right? Okay, so raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of Natalia ISD Board of Trustees of the State of Texas and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state. So help me God. All right, congratulations. I'm going to sign it. Welcome back.
Appreciate both of them for signing back up for re-election and running against them, which is great. And we'll move on to item 3D, consider and approve reorganization of the board. We'll start with the office of president. I'll open the floor for nominations.
Make a motion to nominate you and nominate Harrison.
Got a motion to nominate myself. Do we have any other nominations for president? Do we have any other nominations for president? Do we have any other nominations for president? Nominations are closed. Now we would need a motion to accept the recommendation for nomination as presented by Mr. Gentry. Yeah, all that was for nomination, that we would need a motion and a second. Got a motion by Mr. Bessa, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Rodriguez. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 6-0. I will open the floor for nominations for vice president. Got a motion for nomination by Mr. Bessa for Tiffany Rodriguez. Do we have any other nominations? Do we have any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Nominations closed. I'll open the floor for a motion for Ms. Rodriguez to remain as vice president. Got a motion by Mr. Gentry. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Almendaez. Is any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Open the floor for nominations for secretary. Got a nomination by Mr. Almendaez for Mr. Gentry to remain. Do we have any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Nominations are closed. I will need a motion and a second for Mr. Gentry to remain as the secretary. Motion by Mr. Rodriguez. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Bessa. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. We will move on to, we're going to skip down, and I'm going to call up, we're going to go to 8A, consider and take possible action regarding contracting with Moak Casey for strategic planning. I believe we do have one representative. I'll let Dr. Kalal introduce him, and that way we can get this young man back on the road. Appreciate you coming down.
You have it back. Oh, sorry. We have Buzz with Moak Casey, and I actually don't know your last name.
Gilcrease.
Gilcrease. I've heard it, but I didn't. So Bud Gilcrease with Moak Casey. And he's here to talk about what Moak Casey will do for us or work with us to do as far as the board and superintendent, team of 8, with the community, with the school for school improvement.
And just a little preface also, I forgot to mention, Dr. Colavo and I did have a conversation with his co-partner, Greg Gibson, who was the superintendent at Church Universal City ISD. I did speak to the board president for Gregory Portland also, who currently uses him as well as a number of other districts, but I did have a long talk with the gentleman from Gregory Portland, who's been on board a long time, was very complimentary of what they provide and the leadership and the team building and such, as far as, kind of piggybacking, kind of like Lone Star Governance, but just a little bit different vision, I guess. And so I'll let him kind of introduce, but it was very interesting, and I think it'd be something that would benefit our district, and that's why Dr. Colavo and I are bringing it forward as a recommendation for this board. Go ahead, sir.
Well, apparently Tim Flynn and Gregory Portland gave my pitch for me, so I guess we're done with this one, right?
He can talk almost as much as me.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a really good guy. My name is Bud Gilcrease, and I am a recovering superintendent. Spent almost 18 years in the superintendency, and I started with a district of about 575 students and finished at 27,000 students. And so it was a great career with Give Nothing for it. Moak Casey now, Greg Gibson, myself, Lloyd Graham, Joey Duran, a group of also other recovering superintendents and a couple of board members. We do this work with boards around the state. Our approach is a little different than others in that there's a conversation that happens, many conversations that happen within the district before we get started on putting things down on paper as to what exactly it is that the district wants to accomplish. And so our process is a 6-step process initially, and then it's several more steps after that that you guys will undertake at the district level. We'll be glad to help with those as you go along. But we're going to ask to have 2 board meetings, 2 special call board meetings with just the board. You guys have the first meeting of the 6th and the last meeting of the 6th. In between there, we're going to have some meetings with your community. We're going to ask you to put together a group of community members where the best way I know to say that is this community group where everybody in your community should be able to look at somebody on that group and say they're just like me. That person's just like me. And we're asked to have 2 meetings with them, 2 separate meetings, and then we'll meet with the superintendent and senior leaders during those times as well. This conversation culminates into what we call a performance management tool, a balanced scorecard. We believe there are other programs, and I know you guys spent several years with LSG, and we feel like our program is not against LSG. It is kind of adds a little more to it, in that we think that you have to have balance in how you approach this district, any district. The balance includes not only student achievement, but also your faculty and staff. Are they engaged? Are they growing? How's their capacity? Your community and your parents also have to be engaged in this. In Texas right now, 70% of population does not have school-age children, and so you got to find a way to pull them in. And then the last piece is finance, and under finance, for a district like Natalia, you're going to end up dealing with facilities and questions about where you go from there. But it's the balance between all 4 of those things that brings credits to it. We also do not, we don't have a scripted amount of minutes that you have to have in a board meeting. We believe that instead you guys should receive the reports that your senior leaders should give you on a regular basis at every board meeting. And sometimes it's going to be a 10-minute presentation. Sometimes it's going to be a 20, 30-minute presentation, depending upon the topic and your questions. So our approach is a little different. We also have a way that we will stay involved with you after it goes. We don't coach, we don't come to the meetings, we don't meet individually with board members, but we do help with the district as they're implementing this scorecard. We call it a scorecard performance management tool. And so I guess that means my time is up. Is that what that means? Sorry, that was planned. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Y'all have questions for me?
I'll open the floor for any questions. So let's start with Mr. Garza. Do you have any questions, sir?
My only question is, what does the integration look like from moving from Lone Star into your program?
So
Is there like drastic changes, or with experience that you've had at other districts, how long does it integrate and then cross over?
So we work with a lot of districts that were LSG at some point. Basically, all the goals that you have will be incorporated into this performance management tool. We're going to ask you to add a few more, specifically about what, for faculty and staff, how for community involvement, that kind of stuff. The other piece is this: we think the community needs to be more active in the conversation. LSG has a different approach. Where the board members are responsible to go out individually and connect with the community. We think that there needs to be several times a year where the community comes together and connects with the board in a real fashion instead of singular. We've had people use this word with us, is that ours is the natural extension and in some ways almost a completion of what the work they did with LSG.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Almendalis, Mr. Bessa, Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Gentry.
Just one, I may have missed it, so forgive me if I did. We're gonna have to go set through a 12-hour session like we did with LSG.
No, sir. So again, people I mentioned a while ago, we're really, not that smart. We can't pay attention for 12 hours at a time. So we break it into about 1.5 to 2 hour sessions, each of those 6 meetings. Just enough time to get things done, but not enough time for people to get bored and not listen. So.
Like I said, I think one of the biggest attractions with this organization is the fact that they're all former educators, and it's not folks sitting up from, handed down from Austin, part of the political party perspective. They've lived it, they've done it, they've seen it, and I think their organization will, benefit us. And
I really didn't mind the 12-hour session, but Mr. Garson, you're right.
Any other questions for this representative? If not, I'll open the floor for a motion regarding the contract with Moak Casey as recommended by Dr. Palazzo and myself. Got a motion by Mr. Rodriguez, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Gentry. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
We will be in touch to get some dates on the calendar
We'll do
and
that.
get going.
Sounds good. Thank you for coming. Appreciate
Thank
it.
y'all. Look forward to seeing you.
Safe travels.
I am going to call for Mr. Resendez, I guess, is here in case there's no questions, but it'll be for 8B, consider and take possible action to approve an engagement agreement relating to a bond counsel services.
Good evening, everyone. Hope you all had a good Thanksgiving. I'm here in case you have any questions. It's a pretty straightforward agreement. I've gone over it with Ms. Calavo. She negotiated some things, which is good, which is what she should do. So we're here to help, and if you have any questions, just let us know.
I want to make a comment. We did approve them, or y'all did last month, to be our bond counsel, but now you need to approve the agreement.
The actual agreement, yeah. And there's a statute now that any attorney fee contract that's contingent, so we don't get paid unless the bond election passes and then you sell your bonds. So we're going to do all this work and hope it passes, but if it doesn't, we don't get paid. But the law now requires any attorney fee contract that's contingent, you have to give this additional special notice. So you'll see that notice on the agenda, and that's statutory. So you all approved us, but then we negotiated the contract with your superintendent, and now it's here for approval. And the contract is pretty straightforward. The rates are actually pretty competitive. But let us know if you have any questions. Yes?
And do I need to read A through F out loud?
No, you don't. It's written notice to the public because it was posted with the agenda.
Sounds good.
Yep.
So any questions on this? Dr. Palazzo obviously is our superintendent. He's obviously been our legal counsel for a while. So I trust both of them on this. I'll make a motion to accept the engagement agreement as related. to bond council as presented. Second by Mr. Rodriguez. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you all. Hope you all have a good evening. Y'all take care. Good to see you
Move
guys.
on to principal recognitions, and then we're going to revert back. 5A, principal appreciation.
Okay, let me talk into this. October was National Principals Month, and I did not get it on the agenda. So I felt like I really needed to recognize these 4 individuals because they worked so hard this year. As we have 3 new ones, one that's been here 1 year, and they worked real hard to work together to move forward with the district. And I just want to kind of remind you of who we have and then give them each a certificate. So at the ECC, it was the first year it's had its own principal in a while. We have Rebecca Melton. She came from Medina Valley, and she's been with the district for more than 2 years, but this is her first time as a principal. So I'll wait and I'll meet y'all down with the certificates in just a minute. Then we have Bridget Ayala, also in her first year as elementary principal and in her first year as principal. And she came to us also from Medina Valley. I don't know what's happening there, but we're lucky. And has also been with the district for more than 2 years. Adam Martinez, junior high principal. He's in his 2nd year at the junior high. He came to us from Dilley. Now he's been with the district for almost 2 years. So we have some real new people, but they don't feel new anymore. They're used and abused. We have one more new person, and that's Fernando Torres, first year as high school principal. Also came to us from Medina Valley. He is in his first year as principal and with the district, and I've been so happy working with these 4 people. They work hard, we talk a lot, I feel like. They work well as a group, and they deserve every bit of recognition that they can get. I want to meet y'all down here.
And on behalf of the board, I know we tell you a lot, or we try to tell you a lot, but what's been so encouraging and rewarding about this group of administrators has been just a lot of positivity, a lot of communication, a lot of visibility. And so we appreciate each of you being visible at campus events, off-campus events. And there have been minimal to no staff or community complaints about anything. So it's been really great.
All right.
Getting in it?
Yes.
I want you in it too.
I think I need cold up there. And April. She's yes.
We put the boys on birthday.
So high. I have to take it high.
Yes.
And 1, 2, 3. That's an excellent picture.
Yeah. The older you get, the higher you
Thank y'all. If it's okay, Ms. Friddle, can we do the public meeting at the end? Is that fine with you? Let's see. I guess we can go back to presentation. Let's see. Let me see what other action items we have just to get through that, and we will go back to presentations. 8C, discuss and take possible action to approve reimbursement resolution.
That resolution is just a resolution that was provided from the attorneys, and it means that bond expenses that we have before a bond is approved, if the bond is approved, we can reimburse ourselves. But we have to have a resolution that says that's okay.
I'll make a motion, we approve the reimbursement resolution as presented. Got a motion by myself, second by Mr. Rodriguez. John, second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. 8D, Board President report on board members continuing education hours. I don't have that in front of me.
Yeah, just click over the second one, read up, left a little note. This one? Just a minute.
Yeah, my eyes.
Sorry.
She's got it right here.
I got it.
I was in a rush, I forgot my iPad.
Go back one more. The first one. There it is. Oh.
The first page, I was just not giving you too much.
There we go, right there. All right, the following is a summary of myself. I completed all hours Mr. Rodriguez completed all hours with 11 hours over. Mr. Gentry completed all hours with 2 hours over. Mr. Almendarez, all hours with 4.5 hours over. Fernando Garza, all hours with 10 hours over. And Mr. Bessa, all hours with 12 hours over. Danielle Alvarez did not complete some of her required courses, but was 13.5 hours over the total recommended hours for the year. And this is an action item. I'll need a motion to accept the hours as presented. Motion by Mr. Rodriguez, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Almendarez. Any discussion? Just thank you, each of you, for the time, energy, and effort you put in. And I'll continue to ask Ms. Earl to kind of let us know when there's events happening. The next one won't be until, I think it's the end of February now, which will be in Galveston again, and I think she's already checked to see who wants to go to that. So, if not, any further discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye, all opposed. Motion passes 6-0. 80, discuss and take possible action regarding policy update 122 affecting local policy.
All right, policy 122 is the first update we've received since the legislative session. And so all of the legal is, well, actually all of it is reflective of the legislative session. If you know we don't take action on the legal, the explanatory notes go through all policy. As you're looking through it, you'll see that so much, almost all policies just have to do with safety. Cybersecurity safety, the SROs, that's everything in the legal. If we go into the local policies, I was going to point out just a couple of things about the local policies. And they also took out all the policy related to online learning and any requirements for that. And any requirements for COVID is no longer in there. But there is a new policy under CSA local that is building access control. Anywhere you see in the policy comparison, the red is what they're removing, or the green is, sometimes it's moving around. It means different things, but there's no changes, but there's a few things that are different. One policy looks like it's been deleted, EHBC, but they really changed the number, and it's repeated in EHBCA. There is some changes in FFAC local as far as medications, because we do not provide, as a general rule, we don't buy medications for students. However, there are a couple of exceptions. Our trainer does have non-prescription medication that he uses sometimes, Tylenol, those kind of things. He is allowed to do that. We also have a new policy that allows school personnel to have an EpiPen. We'll have to get a doctor's order to do that, but that's in the case of an anaphylactic shock, and it'll be certain people who are authorized to do that. That is in here. The other thing that is in here is the district has, under this policy, it authorizes school personnel, our nurse, to carry Narcan, to have that available for students who it's an opioid antagonist is what it is, in the case of, to save someone's life in a drug overdose. So that is in here. There's a couple of things about threats that I thought was interesting. One more thing that I was going to point out in the local policy is that is employee confidentiality. District employee who reports a potential threat may elect to keep the employee's identity to remain confidential, and it's exempt from the Public Information Act. They can't find out who did it unless the police can, or that kind of thing, but just to do an information request to see who did the report, they can do it in certain situations. And the rest is pretty much, there's not anything really else, but those were the ones that I pointed out.
And I'll just remind you too, with these policies, is the other day with Dr. Flavo, Mr. Gentry, and Carrie, and I went to Waco, and we were in the legal updates, and they were talking about different policies and different stuff. One of them had to do with the EpiPen. I won't gonna lie, I don't remember what our policy stated on that, and nothing we had discussed here, obviously, in the meeting recently, so I went back, and it's kind of interesting just to go back through and look at legal versus local, and kind of a refresher, and so it just kind of started some random discussions that are important, but not part of our daily, but obviously could really impact his health, so it was neat to go back and look at some of those policies, so. But this is coming down from legal, obviously. Is there any discussion? If not, I'll open the floor to accept the policy update 122 as presented. Got a motion by Mr. Rodriguez, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Best. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor state aye. Aye, all opposed, motion passes 6-0. Ms. Roberts offered some money if I got out within the hour, so that's my impression. Consent agenda, 9A through F. If there's anything you would need to pull out, that would be the time to do so. If not, I'll open the floor for a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented. Motion by Mr. Rodriguez, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Gentry. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye, all opposed, motion passes 6-0. Move on to superintendent reports.
All right, the enrollment report is in here, and we have 1,273 students, 120 are transfers, we're down 2. We are not accepting transfers at this time. We have too many students for our facilities. There's your staff report. We still have openings, and we keep hoping that we'll get those filled, but every day, something happens. So there's our changes in staff. You do have a list of upcoming events for the month. Takes you until we get out for Christmas break. I hope you got your email today. If you want to know the schedule for the basketball tournament for girls and boys, it's in your email.
For this weekend.
I sent that today. Also in reports, Mr. Garza asked for a report of the District of Innovation Plan, so I was going to go through the pieces that we've done, and if you want to look at it more closely, what I tried to do was put what we are actually, what the strategy was, I marked it in blue, and what we're actually doing. We do alter our site-based decision-making committees. We use our improvement plans are reviewed and revised with primarily the campus and district staff stakeholders. That is primarily what we do on those. And if I missed something, I'm sorry, I might have. Oh no, it just says we have to continue to provide our campus, our DOI says we don't have to have a district plan, but we actually have to have a campus plans for Title I. So we still have campus plans for Title I and for everything, but that's the reason we have to submit those sometimes. There is a certification DOI where the district has the flexibility to hire individuals who are knowledgeable in the area and equipped to effectively perform the duties of the position in question. And I listed where we are using that flexibility. It's a high school teacher for BIM and professional crime, high school teacher for environmental systems and athletics, principles of ag, and I don't know what fun comp is, but that's what it said, and professional communication. So we have 5 teachers that fall under the DOI for certification. We do have some teachers who are working as long-term subs. We're working to get them into alternative certification programs, but they're actually in it, they're getting up to a point where they have an intern certificate, but they're not part of the DOI situation. They don't fall under that. They fall under, we are working with them. And they're not called teachers until they're called long-term subs until we get that taken care of. The innovative strategy for school start and end date, we start well before the 4th Monday of August, and we are doing a 4-day week. So that's where we get that flexibility. The 90% attendance rule. This exemption would allow the district to provide innovative options to promote student engagement in course material in flexible ways. And we need to develop a procedure to do that implementation. As far as I know, we did not use that at the end of the year. Then we have a flexibility with the class size, but if there is a statement in there that if we exceed 25 to 1, then we have to notify parents, and we actually, before the break, I haven't checked today, we did have a 4th grade class and had 26 in it. We have way too many 4th graders for the number of teachers. We're happy to have the students. And then we aren't required under DOI to have a designated campus behavior coordinator. That's what the administrators do on the campuses. We do not have designated campus behavior coordinators. the depository contract. We have stayed with the same depository for a long time, and we do not convene a shack, but we do have a district health clinical coordinator who is Meg Brown. And we have for the DAEP under the DOI, we're not required to have a full-time certified substitute. But we do have 2 full-time aides over there and a half-time certified, no, I said that wrong, certified teacher. We have 2 full-time aides and a half-time certified teacher. It's not a substitute. And the next one has to do with removal of individuals from district property and facilities, and at this time, no one's been denied access to school property during the school year. So that's where we are on that. I don't know if that was enough information, but that's how we've used it to this point.
Was it? Go ahead.
I was going to go to the next one, but go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just going to ask if there was any questions or if there's anything that we're curious about that she can get back with you on if it wasn't answered here afterwards.
Oh, no, I was going to ask regarding the most recent policy update. They touched on allowing districts to provide an excused absence for students who go visit colleges.
Yes.
Do we have something in the plans to, I don't know if the right word is promote, but to make sure our students in regards to the whole child are aware that this is something they can do? And also, do we have plans to have an outreach to universities and colleges to find out when those student and family visit days are so that we can be more organized about the approach of implementing?
Let me find out, and I'll bring that back to you. Okay, I can do that. We'll get a report together. I know the 5th grade's going to Palo this week. But I'll
I
see.
did see something was posted today, I mean, it's related but not related. There is a senior, which I don't think a senior team. Okay. They did post today on social media that there is a senior parent meeting for numerous college-related and senior-related information that they have organized. I did see that on social media today. Like I said, related, not related. But I can ask her if maybe during her Friday update, if that's okay?
Yeah.
If she can email us.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Any other questions, sir?
No, I'll save it for another time.
It's okay.
I'm good.
Sure. Okay. Mr. Alvarez? Mr. Bessa? Ms. Gentry? Ms. Rodriguez? Mr. Gentry? Thank you. Go ahead.
And I have one more report. This is about the bond project update. Where we are, we had a meeting to where we discussed the architects, and we are going to interview the architects. The next, we're going to have a regular bond meeting this Thursday, and then next Wednesday night, we'll interview each architect. We have 3 firms, one at 6, one at 7, and one at 8. It'll be 3 or 4 people from the district, and it'll be Mr. Smith, Mr. Almendares, and Ms. Alderete. Hopefully we'll all 3 be there to do the interviews. We've asked them to prepare. They come to visit and to prepare some ideas, to present themselves and what they would recommend for what we're needing for the district. So we'll have architects there. The scores were just so close. I think we could have just flipped a coin. They were just real close. There were 3 strong firms. And then attached to this also is the timeline that's always in draft, always floating, but telling us where we are and what we're going to do. I can turn the page. And you can see that we're down to 11/27, our 11/30 bond, 12/18 there'll be a board meeting. Hopefully we'll be approving architects on that night. So it's moving along, and I appreciate y'all's help as we move along on that.
Sounds good. Any questions on her reports? If not, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Ms. Rodriguez, and I will be leaving at this time at 7:05.
All right, moving on to presentations, we have 6A, EPA Clean School Bus Program presented by Mrs. Holmgren.
It is actually, I have a piece of paper, if I can find it. I have to get it wrong. What this is a it requires board approval before we actually apply. We're not going to do a big presentation, we're just gonna talk about it. And it's to apply for funding for buses, but the buses, they have to replace a current bus, and they have to be year 2010 or around 2010. And in the piece of paper, it's over here. It requires board approval to move forward. The application is due 1/31. We're just giving you all information now because we'll need to talk about it, but to give you time to think about it, if you want to look at the Q&A that's in here. Rural and economically disadvantaged schools are prioritized. We can request up to $345,000 per bus because actually what they want us to buy are electric buses. That's what the funding is for an electric bus. And we have to agree that if we purchase an electric bus for a 2010 bus, that we get rid of the 2010 bus. We're currently getting clarification on whether or not we can replace the 2011 models that we have. We have 3. So potential electric buses could be 5. You're funded up front if approved, and you get to keep any interest that's earned. Interest earned can be used to pay for electric lines, poles, etc., anything we need. The Environment EPA pays for charging stations. Buses must be kept for 5 years and are under warranty for 5 years. After that, you can sell them or scrap them if you decide not to continue with electric buses. All training is provided for drivers, mechanics, local fire department. The cons are the batteries can cost up to $35,000. Like an electric car, they're like that there too. But you can see that Houston ISD did 25 buses, which we won't do, but they got $6.22 million. Colleen, nearly $10 million. Socorro, nearly $10 million. Some of them replace their whole fleet of buses into electric buses with this funding. So it's kind of an outside the box thought, but it's, I guess we're in the 21st century, we're looking at alternative ways, and it's just something that we're talking about pursuing, but we would not be able to apply without board approval. So if you think of questions you want us to look up, that would be good. If you have any thoughts like that, it's a horrible idea, we need to know that too. It's just a thought, and so I don't know how you'll feel about that. You can ask questions. If you ask me a question, either I or maybe Norma can help.
Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Garza? Mr. Amadeus? No. Mr. Mesa? No, I don't have any. Not at this time.
Okay, if y'all think of questions and you want me to get an answer for it before the next meeting, it'll probably be in either December or January, we'll bring it back. If you think of questions, then we can find out a real answer, because if you ask me questions maybe at the meeting, I won't know, because I don't know. But I can find out. I know where to ask. Norma can find out. One of us will find out any information. And really, maybe I don't even know what questions to ask either. So questions will help me, even if you just email them to us, so that we can have a good, this is just a thought provoker, is this a good idea for us?
You said we're looking at 5?
Could be, up to 5. We have two 2010s, and we have 2 2011s, but I think they went in service in 2010. Is that correct?
They were manufactured in 2010,
Okay,
but they're 2011 models.
okay.
Yeah, so right now, I have a question into the EPA people. Just getting some clarification on the 2011s, just because there's a little fine print in their eligibility requirements that I'm currently questioning. So I haven't gotten the answer, but we can potentially apply for up to 5 buses. 2 for sure, but I'm trying to get the solid answer on whether we can apply for the 20 to replace our 2011s, which we have 3 of.
Which could be almost $2 million. They're expensive buses, but apparently the federal government really wants people to try them.
To the point to where they're guaranteed, or I'm sorry, they'll be under warranty for 5 years. And after that, we can do whatever we want with them. If we decide that we want to continue with the program, there may be some possible funding, to either repurchase or replace. Anything can happen in 5 years. Or we can just say, you know what, we didn't like this, we're just gonna go back and use the money that we got for the selling of the buses just to go back to getting our diesel buses.
And I would say something on there about you have to train your mechanics. Matt, have you looked into what kind of training?
We were told that, I'm sorry, you come up and answer if you like. But we were told that training would be provided for our mechanics, for our local fire department, should we have any kind of emergency situation, and also our drivers. So it's not a situation where they're just gonna say, here you go, and then just walk away. So no, the training would be provided.
Any more questions?
That was my question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Any more questions?
And really, if you think of something, send me an email, because we want to find out. You don't want to just go, oh, what a good idea, and get $2 million for the stuff we can't use.
This is really a big step for Natalia.
Are there other districts already in the program?
All these are listed,
Okay.
Houston, Killeen, Socorro, these are just some.
All right.
San Felipe, Dallas, Queen City, Kilgore, these are different sizes. Some are little, some are big. Matagorda, ISD is little. We have two. North Hopkins, Martinsville, ISD, they're little.
I spoke to the business manager myself out at Martinsville ISD, almost identical, I guess components like a size, just statistical wise.
Demographics.
Yes, thank you, demographics, yes. And I asked her, how long did it take from the time that you applied? Because I'm all about timing, like, does this happen quickly? Does it happen, do you have to wait a long time? She said, Norma, really, it took only just 2 or 3 months for us to actually find out whether we were awarded or not. It really, there wasn't a huge turnaround time, but what took the longest was just waiting for the buses to get built, which took about a year. So this is definitely something that's, we're kind of really forward thinking. It's not anything that's gonna happen overnight. Now, the good thing about that, as a business manager, of course, she said, yeah, they gave me, where's Martinsville? She said, they gave me $1.5 million and it sat in my taxable account and I was earning interest the entire time. She said, you take your time building that bus. So they were able to use the interest that was earned to do all of the infrastructure needed to run the power lines, to the charging stations. Now the EPA will pay for the charging stations themselves, but we do need to, put our own money into building whatever it is that needs to be built in order to get power to the stations. So I've had a few discussions with Mr. Ryerson about it, and just want to make sure that he wasn't like absolutely and completely opposed. And he's also spoken with his drivers as well, just to kind of get a feel for what they think about driving. That would be an option for them. So we're definitely, we've all got an open mind about it. And again, just to offer, it sounds like a great opportunity. The business manager at Martinsville said that they really, really do prioritize economically disadvantaged districts and rural districts. So I just think we've got a shot, we can try.
Did they mention anything about potential savings in fuel costs?
They did.
Is it anything measurable, or is it just the fact that it's safer for the environment?
I had a feeling this question would come up. He didn't think it would, but I warned him.
So right now, just on our routes, we spend about $5,000 a year in fuel, diesel fuel. That's assuming that we pay $3.65 a gallon, because we know we've been up over 4. Well, we've been below $3.50 in a few years, but it's just like anything else. Road conditions, wear and tear doesn't depend. There's actually 2 types of batteries that you can get with these. I think we'll call it the base model. There's about a 200-mile range on the battery, and then you can upgrade that battery to about a 320-ish thousand mile range. And same thing, AC, heat, all that stuff's on the bus, whatever you decide to put on it. But as far as fuel versus the power it's going to cost to charge buses, I don't know.
Right.
That's kind of hard to guess,
Yeah.
but you figure, I mean, 5 buses, that's about $25, $26, $27,000 a year right there just in fuel. That's just fuel. Now we'll have buses for 5 years with no maintenance whatsoever. So if that $35,000 battery goes out, we just don't fix it. Now the downside is we have to destroy whatever buses we replace. We're gonna get out there and drill a few holes in the blocks. Take it to the scrapyard. But after 5 years, if we don't like them, we sell them and buy something else. So, I don't know.
Like Dr. Colella said, definitely an outside the box thought. It's just something to think about. I would like to work with this department to see if we can have a better cost analysis. Maybe come back with something a little more measurable next month, just to give some more information and see if that would help.
And maybe come up with some more questions. Really, if you have one, just send them to me, because we'll find out. You know, it's gonna go about 320 miles, because we certainly don't want to send them to Dallas and not be able to get them home.
So, yeah, so what would happen if you get somewhere new?
Well, we wouldn't send a bus that far out of range.
Yeah.
I mean, if we went anywhere, it'd be like a Jersey and back,
Yeah.
something like that. If we're going down, and that's
Yes,
when we're using our
Yeah.
diesel power busing motors.
More questions?
I did, in speaking with the business manager out of Martinsville ISD, she did mention that during one of the days that it was really cold, the battery wasn't charged 100%, and she kind of they had an issue with the bus. They did call the warranty department, and she said nobody has ever responded that quickly. So she had very, very positive things to say about the warranty kind of package program in itself, because I think the government really does want this program to succeed. And so they're being very responsive in any and every issue. So far she's reported, she's been very pleased with the warranties on them.
Good. That's good. Thank you both.
That's it. And what we have the public hearing, and we have Amanda's.
Okay, so moving on to 6B student outcome goals, Mrs. Lopez.
We're so out of order, we have to find it.
Good evening. I'm going to be presenting to you the goal progress measures for 1.2 and 2.2, our student outcome goals, or GPMs here. There we go. So for November 2003, I am reporting on GPM 1.2. This is the percentage of first grade students that are above grade level on reading fluency as measured by MClass. This, of course, is the goal that we set, I think, 1.5, 2 years ago, going from 47% to 67% over a 5-year period. I'm just reporting how the beginning of the year progress started. You'll notice there that 35% at or above grade level currently. We do assess at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and of course at the end of the year. So by the end of the year, our goal is to reach 62%. Our second GPM goal progress measure 2.2 is the percentage of first grade at or above grade level as measured by IXL, will increase from 64 to 74%. This is in our math. This year was our baseline. We set the baseline for this goal, so it's only over a 3-year period. So we were able to set it at 64%, and then we're hoping to, by the end of the school year, go to 69%, and after the 2025, 74%. Ms. Melton's here to kind of talk a little bit with you about what they are doing in first grade to kind of address these goals.
Good evening, Dr. Colella and esteemed board. So as Ms. Lopez mentioned, all of that data is there. The first one is for reading, and so this is, we have fully aligned to amplify reading. So that's that first bullet. And these teachers, all of our teachers have gone through the science of teaching reading. And so I included that caveat of the 5 pillars of reading instruction because that all aligns with the science of teaching reading. We're always going to teach how the letter sounds, identifying the letters, manipulating those sounds. We have phonics instruction every day, so the repetition is there. We work on fluency, so how quickly the kids are reading, and that is progress monitored weekly. Vocabulary, so how the kids are reading, what they're reading, all of those words that they're exposed to. We do a lot of language, a lot of talking, a lot of singing, and then the comprehension piece, which is critical in first grade. So as they're reading those passages or reading those short stories, the questions that we're asking them to wonder, what are you comprehending as you're reading? Because if you can read fast, that's great. But if you're not understanding what you're reading, then that's not good. So the comprehension piece is a pillar, even though we're always assessing fluency. So last month we presented our kinder goals. And the kinder word was sumatized, so being able to look at a pictorial representation of a number and be able to identify what that number is. So now that we're talking about first grade, when we're talking about math, we're really thinking of the foundation of math. So they're learning what addition means and what subtraction means. So last year, the previous year, in kinder, they learned, the 5 dots, that's 5. Well, now we're 5 plus 1. Now what do we have? So these are those foundational pieces that we're moving them forward with. Daily numeracy activities, they're always counting. Again, lots of songs, lots of movement, lots of dance. They're focusing on time and fractions come into play in first grade. It kind of blew my mind too. IXL lessons are assigned, so we use IXL. So small groups, so kids who aren't getting it, when the teacher stands and delivers, I'm doing my tier 1 instruction, everybody gets that, but I noticed 1, 2, and 3 kind of looking at me like I grew 3 heads. So when I pull a small group, I'm going to pull you 3, you're going to come with me, and they use the IXL lessons. It's seamless, it's beautiful, and it plays out very nicely in the classroom. Questions on this? Reading math goals? We're moving forward. Lots of great things are happening. Anybody?
I'll just ask. And these are BOY numbers, right?
These are beginning of year, yes, sir.
Okay. So according to the graph, if I'm reading it right, we have a total of 35% at or above the benchmark.
Correct.
Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And then that leaves 65% below or well below.
That we are working with.
Right. So from when the program is being implemented, have there already been adjustments to the instructional strategies, or is this something that we anticipated?
So the adjustments, so teachers monitor and adjust daily. So each new lesson, every instructional unit, the teachers are going to monitor and adjust. I couldn't say for sure, and don't catch me lying, because I don't think that we've adjusted for these scores yet. But like I said, real time as this plays out, students are being pulled every day, and it looks like a different group within that small group setting, depending on what the tier 1 instruction is delivered that day. So it kind of covers, and honestly, I don't know enough about the diagnostic. Do you know enough?
So I just want to clarify, this is beginning of year data for first grade content. So this is before they receive the first grade content, 35% of these students were already at grade level. So our goal is to move the rest of the students by teaching their first grade content, that by the end of the year, they will finish at a first grade level.
And are there anticipated numbers for this testing at this point? Knowing that it's their first time being assessed at this level, do we have an idea of where they should be marking coming into first out of kinder, so that we can make sure the scaffolding is still falling into place?
You won't see anything, so when those first grade students are first grade, you're only going to be assessed on that first grade content. We can look at what kinder ended with, but there isn't going to be anything that shows you from end of year kinder to beginning of year first, because the end of year kinder will be assessed on kindergarten content. Beginning of year first is only being assessed on first grade content. So we don't really do a BOY on those first graders of how they did or ended or how they're doing.
Right, and I guess what I'm trying to get at is if we approach it with I guess it would be a novel test score for them. Mm-hmm. But as a district, if we say, I know this is their first time taking it, but we're really trying to get them 45, 50%, so that we can go above and beyond and really try to stay ahead of that gap.
Right.
Because it seems like the less we anticipate of what we want out of our students and out of our progress, the easier we fall into that gap, and now we're behind.
Right, yeah, absolutely. We don't typically set any type of goals for our beginning of the year or even our middle of the year, which is definitely something that we can kind of talk about. We usually just set up for that end of year goal. But I see what you're saying, anticipating.
Right,
where we want
right.
them to be.
Like, you know, 1-2 steps ahead of what's happening in real time. Even though the data is going to be lagging, our thought process is forward thinking, and that, so that if we're anticipating a gap based on history, well, maybe this approach will create a smaller gap.
Right,
And then we can work on that.
But with that being said, we have looked at, some of these kids never attended kinder. So they've never been exposed to any of this kind of content. They've never been in school. So the fact of getting them to sit in a square and walk in a line was like mind-blowing to them. So we have started disaggregating. So those pieces, that forward thinking that you're requesting, is met through our PLCs. So when we talk about students, we talk about students. Like, we look at last year. They didn't come to us last year. This is our baseline. Like, what do we need to do? And that's decided real time with the teachers delivering the instructions, saying, oh, Fernando, sweetheart, you're not getting it. Come with me, come sit with me, and let's work together. But all of that, this is lagging. It's going to look a little bit different than when we're talking about what does this student need. And those conversations occur bi-weekly.
Right. And, I just want to make sure that we're taking advantage of all the opportunities to keep this data rich.
Sure.
Because it's not only a reflection of what happens in our classroom, but within our community.
Absolutely.
So the more data we can start collecting and measuring, regardless if it's a first-time exam or second time, at least we know if our early childhood programs and our programs of outreach to the really little ones, what kind of impact it's having.
And we have that data. Yes. I mean, we don't present it.
Right. And the way Ms. Upton said about the baseline, every year, every time we send you those DOIs, that's the baseline for that year, and it doesn't take the previous year into account. So, she's right. We collect all this data. Once we have those numbers, they work. The progress monitoring happens every 10 to 15 days. They know where the students are individually, and they work from there. That is definitely something we can consider about what else we report to you. I know that in previous months over the last year or so, we've talked about, you see this data, but you don't get to see all the other data and all the other information that we collect on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis on individual students.
Right. Yeah, and the adult side of it is, we call it data, and we monitor and track. But I just want to make sure that we're doing everything as a district to give our students the opportunity to be successful and not fall into maybe a mindset of, oh, this is just how I read. I'm just a slow reader.
That's not our
slow.
mindset.
Right? No. But what I'm saying is so that we can, just give them every opportunity to not only do the best they can, but to help the esteem component, where they're coming in with confidence and they're growing on that as they go up to the grade levels.
Well, I mean, our teachers, and it's a mind shift, because we train our teachers to look for deficits so we can fill the gap. But I think we need to do more of the look to like. Like, where are the strengths and how can we leverage the strengths to build the self-esteem so that you understand moving forward? It's a whole child approach. But I promise you, every week we're talking about the kids, we're learning about the kids, and we're trying to meet those needs.
Right. Yeah, and like we talked before at the last meeting, I think, or the previous, regarding our early little ones, our
we're gonna come back.
Those are our brand new, community school members here. Like, we gotta keep them ahead of the game because they're brand new to education, and we want to make sure we're giving them a good experience and they're walking away with a more enriched experience with that.
We're trying. I assure you we're trying.
Thank you.
And I do agree with you what you stated about the confidence, building the confidence in the students, because that plays a lot into how they perform in the classroom as well. Not, in addition with everything else, their skill level, of course, but also feeling good about what they're accomplishing. That really, really does help.
Thank you.
Thank you for your questions.
Any more questions? Okay.
Thank you.
since there's no discussion, but not more questions, I need a motion to approve the student outcome presentation. We have, Mr. Bessa, Mr. Bessa made a motion to approve the student outcome presentation, and Mr. Gentry seconds to, well, I guess we'll vote on that. All approved, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passes 5-0. 6-0. Okay, and our the last one is Mrs. Brittle. Public meeting to discuss dates and financial accountability day for 2022, 2023 based on FY 2022 data. First grade.
And this is a
Public hearing.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Yes, this is a public meeting. Good evening, board members, and Dr. Calavo. Thank you. This public meeting is being held to disclose the district's financial rating for the 22-23 fiscal year, which is based on the 21-22 data. I will be going over the indicators applicable to this fiscal year, and I will be happy to take any questions from the board and the public after the presentation. So if you are new to our group or to school finance, FIRST stands for Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas. What is School First? This rating system gauges the financial health and management practices of school districts in the state. The goal is to ensure accountability and fiscal responsibility in the management of public education funds. The scoring system is much like assignments in school. There are 100 possible points that you can get. So if you score 95, you get an A. If you score above an 80, you get a B, and so forth and so on. Not all indicators are scored at a simple face value. Some indicators have a ceiling, which means if you don't answer a question favorably, then your total score is capped. For example, let's look at indicator number 4 for timely payments. This indicator asks if all of our payments were made in a timely manner. And if they are not, then the highest possible score for that indicator, then the highest possible score for the entire rating is a 95. So that's what it means when we have ceiling indicators. So there are a total of 20 indicators. The first 1 through 4 are the critical ones. And that is exactly what it sounds like. That means if we fail any one of these indicators, that means we fail the entire test. Indicators 5 through 14 measure our solvency. And what is solvency in simple terms? Do our assets exceed our liabilities? Are we able to pay our bills? And the last indicators are our financial competency indicators 15 through 20. And these measure our ability to effectively manage the finances and comply with all government accounting practices and regulations. All right, let's take a look at those first 4 critical indicators. So indicator number 1 simply says, did we submit our audit report to TEA on time? Yes, we did. Number 2 asks, was there an unmodified opinion? Now the answer you're looking for is yes. In auditing terms, an unmodified opinion is also known as a clean opinion, and that is what we're looking for. So did we have an unmodified opinion? Yes, we did. Number 3, was the school district in compliance with the payments of all debt agreements? This simply means, did we pay all of our bills on time? Yes, we did. And the 4th and final critical indicator asks, did we pay all of the state and federal agencies on time, like TRS, IRS, Texas Workforce Commission, state comptroller for our sales tax? So did we? Yes, we did. Moving on to our solvency indicators, 5 through 14. So number 5 was not scored. It's not being scored due to the impact of some accounting changes implemented by GASB. So I'm going to skip right through this one since it was not scored. Indicator number 6 is asking if over the last 3 years, did our operating fund balance decline more than 25%? And if so, did we have enough to operate for at least 75 days? This indicator was passed. Number 7 was the number of days of cash on hand in the general fund sufficient to cover operating expenditures. For this indicator, if you simply have more than 3 months of your operating cash on hand, you get the full 10 points, and we did. Indicator number 10 is looking at short-term assets versus short-term liabilities. So this indicator measures whether the school district has had sufficient short-term assets at the end of the fiscal year to pay off its short-term liabilities. Yes, we did. We got the full 10 points. Indicator number 9, did the school district's general fund revenue exceed its expenditures? And if it did not, did we have more than 60 days of cash on hand? Yes, we did. Indicator number 10, related to revenue, is not being scored. I believe the reason it's not being scored is due to the fluctuations in ADA caused by the pandemic. Hundreds of school districts lost ADA, which, as we know, is one of the main variables in projecting revenue. This indicator looks at how close our budget to actual revenue was over the last 3 years. I suspect it will make a comeback at some point, possibly next year. All right, we're halfway there. Indicator number 11 is comparing our long-term liabilities to our assets. This is like asking, do you owe more on your home than it's worth? Do our assets exceed our liabilities? And if so, is it enough to carry us long-term? We got the maximum 10 points for this indicator, so we checked all the boxes. Number 12, this indicator is looking at our ability to make our debt service payments. It's asking whether our values are sufficient to make the principal and interest payments on all of our bonded debt. We got the maximum 10 points, so we're good. Number 13 was the school district's administrative cost ratio equal or less than the threshold ratio. This indicator looks at functions 21 and 41, which is our instructional leadership and general administration. And then it gets divided by all of our instructional functions. So we look at instruction, library, media, and professional development. The lower the ratio, the higher the score. We got the maximum 10 points. Indicator number 14, this is another indicator that is not being scored, and again, I suspect it is due to the pandemic. It's looking at the percent decline in the student-to-staff ratio. Many districts experience a decline in students, so TEA may be rethinking this indicator. And the last of our indicators are 15 through 20, and these are our financial competency indicators. Oops. Number 15. So this is another indicator that is not being scored. Every 2 years, school districts are required to submit their projections in ADA, which determine our cash flow for the next 2 years. This indicator measures how close we came to actually projecting our ADA, which when you think about it, is kind of a hard thing to do because you're really looking 3 years out to 2 years forward. You're just trying to kind of guess what that ADA is going to be. Again, I suspect that TEA did not score this one because of the pandemic and all of just the fluctuations and uncertainty that it caused. Number 16 measures the quality of the data reported in our PEEM submissions against our audit reports to make sure that the data reported in each case matches up, or is at least within a 3% variance. In our case, our data matched up and all is good. Number 17 is asking, basically, simply, did we have a clean audit? And yes, we did. Number 18 is asking, this indicator measures whether the district complies with rules, laws, and regulations related to the expenditures of grant funds and federal funds. We did good, so we got all 10 points. Number 19, did the school district post the required financial information on its website? Yes, we did. And our last and final indicator asks if the board members discuss the school district's property values within 4 months of adopting the budget. Now, as you know, this is one of my favorite topics. We discuss property values throughout the entire budget process. During our Budget 101 meeting, which we're going to have very shortly, then again, when we get preliminary values in April, then we talk about it again when we get certified values in July. So we are doing everything that we're supposed to be doing with regards to talking about property values. So we absolutely passed this. And Natalia's financial rating, 100, perfect score, superior achievement. Do we have any questions?
Anyone have any questions?
Ms. Brittle, I was wondering, so being that the school first rating has to do with the financial integrity of our district, are we not necessarily promoting, but advertising, showing the community, maybe on the marquee? I haven't seen it, if we are, in some form to where they, we can reassure the community that, we are being responsible. And I feel like that might help if the district chooses to move forward with a bond plan, knowing that they can trust the decisions are being made here.
That is absolutely, yes, sir, we can do that.
Any other questions, Mr. Ramirez?
No.
Mr. Bessa? Mr. Gentry?
No questions. Great presentation.
Thank you, sir.
I have no questions other than the recommendation that we continue to stress the importance of attendance so that the community members can make that correlation and understand where the budget comes from for the facilities. So thank you, great presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Brittle.
I just want to really thank Ms. Brittle for the 100. She works very hard on being accurate, and she pays attention to detail, and she does a good job with representing the district and taking care of the finances.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if there's nothing else, we will adjourn at 7:43.
Congratulations on your 100. You made it.